Hello everyone, Moose Torrent here, and today I want to go over how to use the Lawbringer. If you haven't figured it out, you can go to How to Play in Duel Practice, and that'll let you fight it's just a bot, computerized guy, not very hard, and that'll be a really easy way to learn the combos, all the other moves, and that kind of thing. So I recommend doing that if it's the first time you're using any character, just to figure out how they work. Let's go over some of the perks the Lawbringer gets. He has stunning top heavy attacks. So this is your R2s. If they're aimed up, basically if you hit your opponent in the head with a heavy attack, it will stun them. You'll see a circular motion going around your opponent's head with some stars, I think. And as long as that animation is going on, they will not be able to see which direction your attacks are coming from. So that's going to increase the likelihood that you're going to hit your opponent, because they basically just have to guess which way your attack's coming from, and it's possible they'll get it, but it's a lot harder for sure, so that's a definite plus. Another good thing is his shove initiates chains. That's mostly dealing with the R2, but a really cool thing you can do is block an attack and then hit square to do a shove and interrupt chains as well. So that's a definite plus. Probably the best thing about the Lawbringer, actually. So let's go over some of his basic combos. We have the R1, R2, R1. That is a decent one to use. I think these two are the main ones, R1, R2, R2 as well. And you switch those up depending on what speed your opponent you think is used to, and then hit him with the other one when he gets used to that one. So let me show you the R1, R2, R1. There it is. Now the R1, R2, R2 actually gets an unblockable third attack, so that's really good. The Judge, Jury, and Executioner. And there's the R1, R2, R2. As you can see there, that third strike is unblockable. And if you do hit him in the head, it will stun him as well. Get out of here. The Swift Justice and the Finisher, I don't really use that often. It starts off with an R2, so it's going to be slower. It's nice to use sparingly when you think your opponent is too familiar with your other combos, but like I said, don't rely on it. And if you don't feel like memorizing the 4-hit one, don't really worry about that either, because it tends to get blocked somewhere in those first 3 hits before you can even get to the 4th anyways. So it's not that big a deal. But that one is R2, R1, and up R2, and then R1 again. So it's pretty much just this one, except the third strike has to be in the up position, and then you could follow it up with an R1. See, he blocked it. Couldn't do it. And that is what all 4 looks like. His running attack, the Impaling Charge, is pretty good. It does drain a ton of stamina, so use it sparingly. The way you're going to want to use it is when your opponent is next to a wall. You can slam them into the wall. That will stun them, and you can get another hit in. Or if they're standing next to a cliff and you feel the need to push them off, you can do that fairly easily as well. You can see there, it's not doing that much damage, so you're not going to want to use it very much unless your opponent is against the wall. You see there, we got him against the wall, and we're able to get that extra attack in. Ouch. So he does get some decent ripostes as well. The Impaling Riposte is pretty situational. It is pretty much the same exact attack as the running attack is, but it's just done from after a parry. So again, do it next to a wall, or if your opponent's next to a cliff. Probably not going to want to do that one that much. The Blind Justice is the up and R2. It has to be in the up position, whereas the Impaling Riposte was left and right and R2. And this one is the unblockable R2, the Ad Mortem Inimicus, and it will stun your opponent and do a lot of damage. If you can hit it, it is fairly easy to dodge, though, so watch out for that. The Light Riposte is a guaranteed R1. You could follow up with some R2s or an R2 R1, whatever you like. So that is probably actually the best riposte you can do, though it doesn't really seem like it. And the Make Way is just an R1 plus R2 attack. It's not even really anything different. So there's the Impaling Riposte. As you can see there, we knocked him into a wall. And that gave us a couple extra hits. And there's that unblockable R2 to the head. As you can see there, he's stunned, and we did quite a lot of damage. So there's the Light Riposte, and as you can see there, you can follow it up with a couple R2s for some extra damage. And there's the R1 plus R2. As you can see there, it takes a decent amount of stamina. It doesn't do that much damage, so I wouldn't rely on that one too much. Another really cool attack we get is the Long Arm. This is when the Lawbringer shoves his pole. That's probably a bad choice of words. It's an unblockable attack with the pole portion of the halberd, and he hits him and flips him over his shoulder, and your opponent is on the ground. You can follow that up and try to do the Swift Justice finisher. I've done that a couple times, but it starts with an R2, so they have a chance to get up and block the R2. You're going to get a guaranteed hit if you start off with an R1, so again, these two are probably going to be better to try to use there. Alright, there's a Long Arm. And he did block all those attacks, so no Swift Justice finisher for us, but we did get that guaranteed pole whack, so probably go for that. So probably the best thing about the Lawbringer is that he can shove people. You can actually initiate a shove by doing a dash and then hitting square, or the better option, just block an attack. Any attack, just block it and then hit square, and you'll shove your opponent back. It will interrupt their chain, and you can then follow it up with an R2 that is actually chainable with another square. So you can do R2 square, R2 square. It'll drain some stamina. Your opponent will probably just dodge out of the way. So it's not that spammable, I guess you'd say. But it is a good tactic. You can do that. You can do square R1, R2, square R2, R2 to get the unblockable attack. Or just try for any of these other combos after that as well. Also, if you're not good at parrying, this is a basically block, shove. So it's kind of a parry. It's just you don't have to have the timing perfect. All you have to do is hit square after your opponent gets his attack blocked. And even if you're too slow on the square input, you'll actually just do a guard break so you can grab your opponent and then hit him with an attack. So there's really not much you can do wrong with the shove strategy unless you're trying to parry and you hit square by accident. Then you'll get hit in the face. That won't be good, but try to avoid that and have fun shoving your opponent. So there's the shove R1, R2. He's afraid. You can see it in his beard. So there's a shove, R2, shove, R2, shove, R2. As you can see there, took a lot of stamina, and a real person would probably just have dodged out of the way of that. And you can see there, I did the square a little later, and I just got the guard break. So that's also a good attack. You really can't go wrong with that shove. So the Lawbringer definitely has some cool stuff about him. He's not the fastest guy out there. He doesn't have a lot of dashing attacks. And oddly enough, it's despite his halberd having a long reach, it's pretty easy to stay out of reach of his attacks, so you gotta find a way to work around that. But overall, I like him. He's not the best guy out there. I've heard a lot of people saying he's actually the worst character in the entire lineup. I don't know if that's true or not. That's just what I'm hearing. Which would make sense. I tend to use the worst things in games. I don't know why. I'm just drawn to the worst. I can't explain it. So I'm going to fight the Viking guy, and I'm going to fight a Valkyrie, so you guys can see what that's like in a faster-paced match. It's actually very hard to defeat a Valkyrie with a Lawbringer, so wish me luck. Shoved him right off the bat. Came in for that R1, R2. Let's try to parry him. So we got the R1, R2, R2. Did quite a lot of damage. Got him with the long arm. We switch it up with an R1, R2, R1. We shoved him again. Conked him in the dome. He is down. Oh god. She always gets me with that. And I got her with the long arm. Got some decent damage there. That is great. Does seem like she has lower health at least, which makes up for that shield, but she is very fast. Hard to parry. Massive block powers. Oh god. We got her. This is Moose Torrent, and I'll be back with another video for you guys shortly. Oh.